World Wide Web, I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair, and welcome to week 11 of...
The Summer of Jackie Chan!
And yes, Labor Day was Monday, but autumn does not start until the 23rd. Anyway, Jackie Chan. As you probably could have guessed, Rush Hour 3 is the third movie of the Rush Hour series. Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker team up again for... something. Bad guys do bad things, buddy cop flick, culture shock here and there, the usual. There's the fact that there were 2 movies in the franchise already, so we kinda know what to expect going into this one, but there's also the tendency for films to mix things up every once in a while to keep it fresh. I mean, not here, but in other franchises. So, Rush Hour 3 is about Jackie Chan, a no-nonsense cop from Hong Kong, teaming up with Chris Tucker, a nothing-but-nonsense cop from LA, to stamp out China's largest criminal organization once and for all. This time, though, they're going to France! Ah, France. Of course. Can hardly walk down the street without bumping into triads, or yakuza, or the occasional bratva. But anyway, let's take a look at Rush Hour 3. See why there is no Rush Hour 4. The movie opens, strangely enough, in rush hour traffic. Carter, played by Chris Tucker, has been delegated to traffic duty, while Lee, played by Jackie Chan, is back with his old pal Han, again played by Z-Ma. He's got Leon to help with this super special assignment today, but Carter has other plans.
Lee, we are on for tonight. I just picked up 2 girls who want to play hide the little Asian policeman.
Yeah, you got your deathly important orders that could very well end a major international crime syndicate, but I was thinking we could just abuse our powers and get a couple of random nobodies to go out with us. In case you're wondering what happened to Lee's love interest at the end of Rush Hour 2, Carter shot her.
It was 3 years ago. When you gonna let it go?
Let it go? Isabella was my girlfriend.
I mean, she lived and even got better after several years of painful physical therapy, but don't expect to see her actually kicking around anytime soon. It's this classic thing in the movie sequel where you take the old love interest and throw her in the trash to make room for whatever scantily clad women might come along. Lee doesn't have time for this. He's got to come with Ambassador Han to LA's handy-dandy World Criminal Court, where we can meet up with the French ambassador, Reynard, played by Max von Sydow, as he introduces Han to everyone. According to Reynard, Han is going to lead the charge to deal a devastating blow to the Triads. According to Han, that is because he alone has information that could completely destroy them!
I believe I finally located Shai Shen.
Mr. Ambassador, Shai Shen does not exist.
Motherfucker acting like Han just announced he's got a great inheritance coming from a distant relative in Nigeria. He doesn't have time to give any more details, though, before a sniper shoots Ambassador Han in the chest. A sniper whose position is spied by our eagle-eyed detective Lee, thus, a chase scene breaks out. Jackie Chan deftly leaps 15 feet onto a crash mat before Carter hears about the shooting on the radio and commandeers the lady's vehicle to join in on the chase. As Lee follows the assassin across highways and through traffic, Carter has a more difficult time keeping pace in the vehicle. Finally, at the end of an alley, Lee confronts the shooter. Ah, it's one of those standoffs. Yeah, I could just shoot you right now and make this whole movie go by a lot easier, but we got that history. I may as well just let you fuck everything up. This would be Kenji, played by Hiroyuki Sanada. If you're hoping for an explanation this early on as to why Lee won't take him in by force, or kill him, too bad. But Carter also just manages to catch up, allowing Kenji... yeah, well, even more of a chance to escape. Now, to get down to important things.
I'd like for you to meet our dates for this evening. Marsha and Zoe. That one's yours.
Okay, my suspension of disbelief has been completely shattered. Rather than the date, though, the two of them just head down to the LAPD HQ. Here we get reintroduced to Captain Deal, still played by Philip Baker Hall. In the first movie, he angrily rattled off the various ways Carter kept fucking up. In this one...
last month you put 6 Iranians in jail for a week.
You and I both know them Iranians was terrorists.
They were scientists at UCLA.
He rattles off the various ways Carter keeps fucking up with just enough emotion to get his paycheck and go home. We're not done reintroducing characters from the first movie, though. Remember Sue Young? Well, she's back! Kinda. They did not get Julia Shu back for some reason, and instead went with the actress Jingchu Zhang for this role.
How is he?
He's out of surgery. They said he'll be okay.
Even though, like most people in this film, she really doesn't give an amazing performance, just enough to get the job done. While we're on the topic of characters in Rush Hour 1 that were missing in Rush Hour 2 but back in Rush Hour 3, forget about Carter's partner Tanya Johnson. She just phased out of existence at the end of Rush Hour 1 and that's it. More importantly, Han sent Soo-young a package and said to only open it if some majorly plot-relevant thing happens to him. Of course, she left such an important trinket in her locker.
Is that 8347 First Street? Chinatown.
Chinatown? Whew. Okay guys, this is crazy, I know, but we're going to Chinatown. You know the drill. Lee says it's Chinatown, therefore his territory, and Carter should just go home. But Carter insists it's his job to take care of this, so he barges into the dojo, and the very simple act of saying, "Hey guys, police investigation, need to see that locker," somehow turns into Chris Tucker getting his ass kicked by a room full of kids, before running into another bipedal roadblock.
Tyler, are you okay? Lee, get him, Lee!
Ming Ming's son, who, as you might have guessed, is a professional basketball player. So he spends a good minute beating the crap out of the two officers before their master enters. This would be Yu, played by Henry Oh, and yes, this gets just as confusing as one might expect.
You!
Yes?
Not you, him! What's your name?
Me.
Yes, you!
I am me. He's me. And I'm you.
And I'm about to whoop your old ass, man.
Remember that scene in Rush Hour 2 that was sort of inspired by Who's on First? That, but again. Finally, after all is said and done, they find out, hey, some gun-toting maniacs already showed up earlier today and took all that shit out of Soo-young's locker anyway. So now they just have to head back to the hospital to make sure that Soo-young and Ambassador Han are okay. Turns out, though, they arrive just in time for the Triads to swoop in.
No. No!
Don't move, I'll blow your ass cheeks off.
So I guess that brings us to the Twerkin' Fireworks show. Problem is, these two were not the only Triads to raid the hospital, and an action scene breaks out. Carter isn't exactly Max Payne, but it's fine. Lee can give him just enough backup to put him into even more awkward situations, and then provide that little bit more backup he needs to fight the bad guys off. Now to find out exactly what their MO is.
Parle pas au poulet, moi. J'emmerde les flics. What the hell is that?
I think he's speaking French.
French? What kind of gentleman speak French?
Well, according to some sources, Jackie Chan. Not fluently, but still. Lee, however, doesn't speak a lick of French, so they come up with a new plan. The usual tie the goon to the chair and threaten information out of him routine, but with a translator. Sister Agnes, played by Dana Ivey. Of course, this method still faces its own hurdles.
Dis-lui que sa putain de nègre de Gonder, c'est ce ours. Did he say nigger?
He used the N-word again, but this time he mentioned your grandmother.
You tell him that his mama's a H.
Creating quite possibly the most entertaining scene in the whole movie. They go from interrogating him to swearing in his face, along with the help of their paladin of profanity, of course. In between bouts of instantly pardoned French, they do still question him on any information he may have. Eventually, it gets to the point where Carter threatens his life.
He said, shoot me.
Putain! Lee, there's no bullets in here.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to kill somebody, man. Damn.
I guess that could work too, just blow his brains out and then pick through said brains and hope you can figure out what he knew that way. However, before Carter kills his ass, he says something. An address. 50 Franklin D. Roosevelt. Still confusing as hell, but good enough. Thus, they retrieve Soo-young and take her somewhere safe. The care of this movie's handy-dandy old white man, Reynard. He intends to take Soo-young with him away from all this triad activity, safely escaping to Paris. Except, you know, the car bomb. Fortunately, nobody was hurt in. How in the hell do you miss with a car bomb? But the combination of the French-speaking triads, the French consulate bombing attempt, and the fact that the next World Court meeting is in Paris kinda clues the guys in that the rest of the movie is probably gonna take place in France, so they hop a plane as to not miss it. Along the way, Carter finds out about an underground gentlemen's club. Strangely advertised in a magazine right there on the plane. Underground is so mainstream these days. The address is the big thing, though.
50 Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Though from what I can find, there is no Franklin D. Roosevelt Street in Paris. There is the Franklin D. Roosevelt subway station, but I'm pretty sure they don't do burlesque shows in the basement. As soon as they arrive, though, they are approached by the local police, led by Detective Revy, played by Roman Polanski.
Just need to ask you a few questions.
Oh, man, god damn, man. Whoa!
A relatively normal trip through customs. This treatment is evidently because they happen to find a gun on them. Don't ask me how the hell they managed to smuggle it this far, and while this could get them 2 decades behind bars, just let them go with a slap on the wrist, the face, the back of the head, and a whole lot across the back. No bother, time to get where they need via handy-dandy cabbie, George, played by Ivan Atal.
I don't drive his kind.
My kind.
Americans, I don't drive Americans.
But I'm Chinese.
Yeah, but you're with him, and they're the most violent people on earth.
Will you take that back before I liberate the fuck out of you?
Even you skinny women disgust me.
Holly Berry.
Oh, hell no. There you done gone too far. You want violence, smelly Frenchman? Huh? Do you want violence? Well, you got it.
Where the hell did he get that gun? So, he smuggled a gun through the airport, through customs, through another airport and customs, internationally, then got caught by the police with a gun, and then got through that having smuggled a spare gun that they didn't notice? Or did they just give them that first gun back like, I know without it your hand's just gonna feel cold? On the plus side, threatening this man's life is enough to get him to drive them to platform 9 3/4, where they find the underground gentleman's club is a casino. Carter wastes no time getting down to business, trying to get laid, as he finds a lovely lady speaking French and figures, fuck it, just tell her in English all the various ways he would like to ravage her, and or cover her in honey.
And for the next 2 weeks, pretend I was a hungry bear.
Well, James Carter, I happen to speak 6 languages.
One, I'm English.
And French, and the only language sexier than French, Klingon. So while Carter tries to woo Geneviève, played by Noémie Lénore, Lee is hard at work trying to crack the case. He runs into Yuki Kudo and straight up asks her where Shai-Shen is, so she tells him to come upstairs and she'll give him what he wants. As we could expect, the thing she figures Jackie Chan wants is for Lee to be killed off and not have to bother with the series anymore. Carter, however, sneaks on over to listen in on Lee's one-on-one time with the lady.
Do it, Lee. Tie that ass up.
That'd be some shit if she actually managed to land one of those knives on Lee and Carter's just listening to his best friend dying like, yeah, way to go. Once their fight spills out of the hallway, Carter realizes it's less entertaining than he thought, and they must run. Unfortunately, George is still not really on their side here and is not happy about being chased by murderers on motorcycles. No problem, Carter has an idea.
You're a super spy. A super spy. Now drive this cab.
It's about as helpful as the back of a video game box. It gives you like a square inch to try and actually tell you what the fuck the game's about. It was good enough for George, who now tears through the streets of Paris, fucking up all who stand in his way. Makes for a decent enough action sequence, except of course it's kinda pointless as the heroes spill out of the cab and are captured by the triads just the same. This brings them to the sewers to meet up with Kenji again, who this time reveals the shocking truth to Carter about who Kenji is to Lee.
Your brother.
He doesn't talk about me much. In fact, he's spent his whole life trying to forget me.
In fact, I dare say you could go 2 whole movies without even hearing a hint of me, or having any reason to believe that Lee has any siblings at all. Hell, he's not even really his brother anyway. Kenji hears a Japanese kid, family killed by the Yakuza, so he grew up in an orphanage in Hong Kong, along with Lee, who was also an orphan, but still has all that history with his father that was referenced in the first movie and the backbone of the plot of the second movie. Hell, this would make more sense if Kenji was simply Lee's brother and happened to have never heard about him until now. Point is, Lee refuses to leave Paris, so the triads try to kill the 2 of them and they escape into a deeper part of the sewer. You know, the cesspool. Now that they've escaped, it's time for a good shower and a good chat. Lee explains his very confusing family history to Carter, and not nearly well enough in my opinion, and Carter figures out that Lee let Kenji escape back in Los Angeles. Trying to help the guy get past it, he tells Lee that you can't let the bonds you may have shared a long time ago get in the way of the now. Kenji's only trying to manipulate you.
He ain't your brother.
And you're not my brother.
Oh, fuck it, Lee. Considering the loose-ass bonds you had with Kenji, Carter here's a hell of a lot more your brother than Kenji ever was. But you heard the man, not brothers! You know what this means. The scene where the 2 best friends suddenly hate each other and spend a few minutes being pissed off for no reason. Carter heading off to get some Chinese takeout and Lee calling room service for some good old soul food. This ain't moving the plot forward, though, so who would happen to show up but Reynard? He's got information for Lee. You see, Shai Shen isn't an individual leader they can find. It's a list of leaders. 13 people are listed, making up Shai Shen.
If the names on that list were ever to get out,
Well, the secret society wouldn't be so secret anymore.
It'd just be another boring-ass membership program like Sam's Club or the Freemasons. However, they believe that the chick that Carter was macking on earlier knows where the list is, so Lee is given a ticket to attend her show at a nearby theater. That person would be Genevieve, whom Carter recognized on a poster on his way to the theater as well. That means that Lee and Carter can bump into each other, completely forgetting about that scene of animosity they had, and get right back to looking out for each other. It seems Genevieve is doing a Bonnie and Clyde-themed routine, complete with Chicago gangsters, which they were not, who shoot up the car, which was shot up by the police, but Carter interrupts for other reasons.
Your life is in danger. What the hell is going on? You step into that spotlight, it's the last step you ever gonna take. They're gonna kill you right now.
Tough crowd. Despite his warnings, she tries to stick to the routine, and somehow no one comes up on stage to drag these two off. In fact, they are now part of the routine and seem to be well received by this room full of drunk men who are expecting scantily clad women dancing around. The triads do try to take her out, but Carter and Lee help her escape, along with George, who, despite all logic, is still in the movie.
Today was amazing. The guns, the shooting. Now I understand what it is to be an American.
Well, if you really want to know, put down the baguette long enough to have yourself a double quarter pounder with cheese with freedom fries and a supersized Dr. Pepper. So George is now a main character, driving the heroes for free because America is so fucking cool. Back at their hotel, Carter does what he does best and makes his moves on the lady. This actually works, but there is the slight problem of that assassin still kicking around.
Freeze! Don't move! Ow! Yeah! Damn!
My work here is done. Cockblock Ninja, away! Now that she needs medical attention, there'll be no nookie. As it's obvious there will be problems hiding out in a hiding place everyone knows about, they continue the conversation after moving to a safer house. George's digs. At least, safe for everyone but George. It's at this point that Genevieve reveals the truth about Shai Shen.
Holy mother of Jesus! She's a man. I went to second base with a damn Frenchman. It's the crying games. I'm Brokeback Carter.
It's a wig. It's obviously a wig. She's obviously a woman. A very shapely woman. Women with shaved heads can be sexy. Women with long hair can be sexy. Women with short hair can be sexy. Women in general are sexy. After this little outburst, she reveals Shai Shen actually is a person. And a list. It's a list of names tattooed on a person. It's just how it's done. And when it's time for a new list, they behead the current one and start again.
What type of tradition is that? Have these guys ever heard of a damn fax machine?
Also, if revealing the list is all you need to collapse the triads, maybe just take a picture and upload that shit to the internet? She told Ambassador Han because she thought he could protect her, somehow. But now she understands she's dead. Carter's dead, Lee is dead, they're all dead. Lee, however, has a notion of who could protect them. The handy-dandy old white guy played by a legendary actor who has only been in a handful of scenes. They give him the rundown of things so far, and...
Would you mind taking off that wig and showing us Shai Shen?
we never told him she was the list.
Oh! You mean to tell me that the obvious bad guy was a bad guy all along? Pardon me while I try and handle the shock. Now you might be wondering exactly why Reynard swooped in to tell Lee to save Genevieve from the Triads when he is a Triad and wanted her dead. Well, you see...
Genevieve was going to be killed. Having you die in the crossfire would put an end to the investigation.
Then why in the fuck were your Triad underlings not shooting only because Carter and Lee were there? And you only sent Lee. Carter just went of his own volition. And how in the hell would this have ended the investigation? You don't think the assassination of a couple of international police officers might raise a few questions? His plan all along or not, the good guys still come out on top. However, there is one final trump card for Reynard to play.
Lee, help me, please.
Oh, yeah, she's still in the movie, isn't she? As it's climax time, they head to the only place you can when it comes to ending an action movie set in Paris, the Eiffel fucking Tower. Seeing Lee and the girl, they bring them up to the party. Kenji's got this whole sword fight with your brother thing planned out, but it turns out that the long-haired person with Lee was not Genevieve, but Carter in a wig. So may as well let them know that Soo Young is hanging outside precariously. Okay, on with the sword fight. It's exciting enough, but it's hard to get too invested when you know well enough that Lee is pulling his punches. That whole brothers thing that is important or something. At the very least, he does kick Kenji's ass out the window.
Give me a hand.
Unsurprisingly, Kenji accepts this mercy, but only as a means to continue trying to kill Lee. Carter at least knows how to kick the shit out of the people he fights, besting all of the rest of the miscellaneous goons. Lee's fight with Kenji, however, has tumbled all the way down to the safety net under the Eiffel Tower. Unfortunately, this net is meant to catch people, not big frickin' blades, so it is cut and breaking. I have no idea how, but the weight of two skinny short guys is just a little too much for it to handle. Thus, Kenji finally shows that deep down in his cold black heart he truly does care for Lee as well, and won't let him go down like this. He's fine, the CGI is not very convincing. With Kenji's sacrifice, Lee survives. Now, Carter has to deal with saving Soo Young. An assassin lady also shows up to make things a little more difficult, but she gets horrifyingly smashed in the metal wheels. Nice! However, things aren't over yet, and Soo Young is not safe here.
Call the police!
And that's the last we see of her all movie. Real nice to have her back, she felt really useful. Which brings us to nearly the final confrontation. Lee and Carter must survive two low-level goons. Is this like when you beat a boss but a couple of minions are still kicking around and you got like 3 hit points left? Must be, as the best strategy Lee can come up with is jump from the tower using a spare flag as a makeshift parachute. Thus they escape the putty patrol relatively unscathed. However, Reynard has Genevieve. Whatever will they do?
Put the gun down. I followed you.
Followed? You're a cab driver. You're a walking fast travel station. Therefore, ending! Genevieve is saved. But there's still like tons of triads out there that want her dead, and next to no way to ensure her safety. And Roman Polanski shows up to remind us about how he's in the movie, so the heroes punch him in the face, and then dance off down the street without a care or worry in the world. Or any of the other cops having a problem with that. I guess they aren't Polanski fans either. Anyway, that was Rush Hour 3. Disappointed! It doesn't take much to be acceptable popcorn entertainment, and Rush Hour 3, well, I guess it does meet the minimum requirements, but for being the third film on the franchise, I was expecting more creativity than the same thing, but in Paris. I mean that a decent chunk of the humor here isn't even that creative. It's a lot of the same setups and jokes from the last 2 films, and while a couple are done arguably better this time around, there's still derivative as hell, and only a couple are done better. Most, not. So we've got punchlines we see coming combined with acting that really doesn't help it, which is also surprising considering the pedigree of most of the actors present. We know these characters, we've seen them before, and we've seen them performed much better than this. I get that Captain DL only had 1 scene, which was likely shot in 1 day, but it still comes off almost unrehearsed, like he was just reading his lines off cue cards. I know I'm being pretty harsh here, but I don't think that Rush Hour 1 or 2 set the bar that high, but still Rush Hour 3 didn't even come close to clearing it. The bad guys are as simple to figure out as they were in Rush Hour 1, and when they try to be creative with the twists, they at best make no difference, and at worst make no sense. You can't pull the "oh my god, he's my brother" card with a character we've never seen before, gets very little screen time all things considered, and we never really have any reason to give a damn about. Similarly, you can't cover up fucking up your own plan by saying it was your plan all along, when you still fucked up your own plans. At the end of the day, Rush Hour 3 is kinda depressing. Not that the movie itself leaves you feeling bad, but the fact that this is the quality it came out as means that Rush Hour, which was fun but had the potential to be so much greater than it was, ended up becoming a series that just churned out sequels for seemingly little reason other than the fact that it'll make enough money to turn a profit. Check it out if you really need to see all 3 Rush Hour movies to feel complete, but otherwise, you might be better off sticking to the first 2, coming in at 2 cockblock ninjas out of 5. It's kind of funny, I held my nose while putting in The Foreigner and came out pleasantly surprised, and I was actually looking forward to Rush Hour 3, and this was it. Life's just full of surprises, ain't it? Thank you all for watching, I've been Shado, and remember, even the lack of hair can be beautiful. but this is still the best hair.
Tell him he's an AW.
Lee, O is spelled with an H.
I have a dictionary upstairs.
Just call him an asshole.